Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge. All right, everybody. Hello, my Mafia lovers. Now, first off, I want to say that this is going to have a crap ton of recommendations, okay? This is an oddly specific rec video where I have 12 different oddly specific niches to mention, at least two. I believe I have at least two for all. Some of them I have many more. But this will also be trained towards the prompts for the Mafia Romance Readathon, which is going to be May 9th through 12th. So if you hadn't seen my announcement video for this yet, it was in my May TBR. But if you hadn't seen that announcement yet, here is your announcement. But also, if you don't care about the readathon, then just treat this as a Mafia recommendation video, because that's basically what it's going to be. Some of them are books that I've read, and some of them will be ones that I did some research and they're books that I want to try. I hate this little curl right here. Why are you so like that? And yeah, so I have compiled them all into one place. So some of the ones, if I say I haven't read them and you have, please spout off. Also, for any of these tropes that I'm going to mention, these micro tropes, these things, if you have recommendations I haven't mentioned, please feel free to down below put the trope at the top and then leave your recs. And then if there are other people who have recs, they can add them to your comment. So that's what I'm going to do. And that way, if you see this and you're like, ooh, I like that micro trope, you can go down to the comments and see what other ones people are recommending. Okay. So yeah. And also for this, this isn't going to be the tropes for all of the other prompts. Those are prompts that should be a little bit easier to find. I've also made videos about those ones before, so I'll also link my Mafia playlist up here. But again, for the Mafia Readathon, there is a Mafia board that has 16 different prompts. It is this time a static board. It's made for you ahead of time. And then you'll earn points for the bingos and stuff that you make. Again, check out my other video for like more details on that. But then I have these prompts that are oddly specific that will add bonus points, as it were, to your other ones. And those are what we're going to be going over today. So there's two ways to play that board. Either you are focused on the bingos, and then if you come across these other things within it, you'll be able to check them off and add them. Or you can focus on like the oddly specific points and then see how they fit in with the other ones too. So you can play this however you want, but you will add up the points at the end, and then there will be a status you will get in the mob, which I have over here, and I'm keeping the points hidden for now. So you're just gonna have to do your best and see where you land, and we'll announce that at the end of the readathon on my Instagram, and here I'll also share it. So that is enough explanation. You're here for some recommendations, so let's dive in, and we'll start with the 2-pointers, but we're going to start with some Yakuza recommendations. So this will be the area that I have not read many of these at all. I mostly have read manga that is Yakuza. So this is one where I definitely leaned into recs that I've gotten from you guys before, as also some of my research. So the ones that I have read is, I have read Yakuza Lover by Nozomi Mino, and I apologize for mispronouncing that, but I have read through volume 8 in this series. It's really fun. You know, if you are doing this for the Mafia Readathon, this also counts as a age gap and some other things like that. But this is really cute. This is this college student and a Yakuza Mafia boss. He's not the highest boss, but he's pretty high up in the Yakuza. He also has this like nerdy vibe about him. Like he's a very like intellectual Mafia guy, and these two end up meeting and just falling head over heels for each other, and that means that our heroine is in a little bit of a danger because her new love is a part of the Mafia. The other manga that I haven't read but I'm thinking of putting into my own TBR is, I do have Yakuza Fiancé, and this is by Asuka Konishi. I'm so sorry if I mispronounced it. This one is from Seven Seas, and this one says, Yoshino grew up in the sheltered Yakuza princess of the largest crime family in Osaka. Due to her resting bitch face and dangerous family, no man has ever approached her. When her grandfather signs a truce with the Tokyo-based Miyama crime family, he offers her up as a truce bride to the Miyama leader's son. But behind his smile is a violent sadomasochist who thirsts for her dominance even more when she impresses him with her moxie. So looks like this one will also work, of course, for arranged marriage and stuff too. But I want to read this one. I've heard really great things about this from some of my friends. And yeah, so this one looks super cute, and I've heard that it's really a fun time. So there's a Yakuza. Then two other ones that I also have not read, but I found while I was looking up. There is Harukai by Calla Riley. I think this is book 3 in a series from what I know. Then another one I found was called Her Ruthless Warrior from R.G. Angel. This one is, it says, the line between redemption and damnation is razor thin, and once it's crossed, there's no going back. So this one is Violet and Hoka. And it says, she is my life's purpose. Loving her was inevitable. I'm the king of the Japanese mafia, and she's a softness like hers doesn't exist in my world. Maybe that's why it was so easy for me to believe that she betrayed me, why it burned us to the ground. So this one looks like it's a second chance romance with this. It's an age gap. So yeah, I'm excited about that. That looks very interesting. It says it's a steamy, angsty, and dark-ish between an innocent heroine and a mob boss. So never heard of this author before, but yeah, this is book 1 in the syndicates, it says, and this is a Yakuza. So there we go. All right, next up we have Mexican Cartel. So if you hadn't noticed too, again, referencing the Mafia readathon part of it, that most of the mafias are on the main board, but Yakuza and Cartel, which are a little bit harder to find sometimes, those ones are worth a little bit more points is why. So there's this one that was just recently recommended to me, which was funny that it showed up. I love how that happens. This one is called Skeletons of Society by Marie Maravilla. And this one is Ryan and Gunnar. So I think this one sounds like this one might be MM. Let me see. Nope, there's just someone named Ryan who is a girl. All right, there we go. To survive the Los Muertos cartel, you have to stay useful, especially if you're a woman. So I made sure I couldn't be replaced. But now my name is whispered about the shadows. La Brujita de los Muertos. Too bad I forgot that lies and deceit are the lifeblood of the toxic paradise. My hands are always destined to be drenched in blood of guilty men. Ooh, sounds like she might also be an assassin, which we also have a prompt for an assassin coming up. So that's what that sounds like anyway. And then we have Gunnar, and it says, sometimes it takes someone willing to walk in the dark to allow others to live in the light. She is a beautiful savage, all the things I am not supposed to have and maybe never will. Meeting her changed all my plans, altered the fabric of my very future. So, wow, that's cool. This one sounds like it might be like rival families possibly too. So, cool. Never read that one, but I am intrigued by it. There is one that has been on my TBR for years and years. I even have the audiobook for this one. So will I put it on my TBR this year again? I don't know. We'll see. But one that always gets recommended for a cartel romance is, of course, Violent Delights by Jessica Hawkins. This one's been around for quite a few years now. And this one is a princess among the criminals. And she's untouchable among the thieves. She's an heiress. And she's trying to run away, but she won't leave without Diego, who's her first love. But his ruthless brother is trying to come for her instead. So she is like being torn between the brothers, I guess. They're feuding between them or something. But I know this is the first in a trilogy as well. But again, I have the first audiobook, never gotten around to it. So we'll see this time. I mean, for me, for this Mafia readathon, I'm really going to let myself mood read whatever I want and just check them off where I can. But this one looks interesting enough. There is Passion and Venom by S. Williams. This one has been recommended to me so many times. I know this one does also have BDSM in it. And this one is Draco Molina, and I already love it. His name is Draco. And this one involves a heroine's husband getting married on their wedding day. And now she gets taken by the man who's responsible for her husband's murder. And yeah, there's BDSM and other spicy things involved in this one. I've seen this one recommended many times by my friends as well. It has a lot of 5 stars from them. And I actually own an ebook of this one when it was on sale one day. So this one covers Cartel for sure. There is El Diablo by M. Robinson. This is an older one too. This one says, I was ruthless, I was feared, I had sacrificed myself, her, and everything. Living in a world where I was worth more dead than alive was a choice. I was a bad man, never claimed to be anything else. I've done things I'm not proud of, seen things that can't be unseen. I've caused pain that I can't undo. It was all my choice. Every decision, every order, right and wrong, never mattered until her. She was under my protection until she became my obsession. But who was going to save her from me? The devil himself. So there's another Cartel. And then we have 2 others that I have read. So we have Disclaim by Pam Godwin. So this is where the parts of this series, this part of the Deliver series, where their connections with the cartel really kick off. So a lot of books in this series actually connect with the cartel. There are some bosses, there are some human traffickers, like there's crazy stuff in this series. Now this 3rd book, do I suggest you read books 1 and 2 first? Yes, I do. However, this book is the first one where you have to read them in order, okay? So for the purpose of this readathon, if you're interested in this Pam Godwin, I think you could start with Disclaim, because Van and Liv, they get explained in the beginning of this book, so you'd be okay. And Disclaim really kicks off the freedom fighters part of it, which, if you don't know, this series is about these group of people who'd been kidnapped into slavery, and now they fight for other people who have been put into human trafficking. And this one involves a woman going undercover. I think this one is Camille. I could be wrong, but it involves her going undercover kind of to try to help rescue people. And it turns out that a boy she used to love is now the head of an organization that she believes is trafficking humans. So this starts off all of it very dark. This series is very intense, but then again, you're here for MAFIA, so there you are. But the cartel is definitely involved in from here on out in the series, so you could read that. Then we have our first book, but definitely not the last, that we will be speaking about this author, because I have, I think, 6 of her books in this recommendation. Okay, so basically, if you would binge this series, which a lot of them are on audio, you would probably black out the board, because I think almost all of the mafias, save the Irish and the Yakuza are mentioned in this series. So anyway, but we have Hidden Truths by Neva Altaj. This one is book 3, right? Again, we'll be mentioning other ones, but this one involves a woman on the run as well. This one will cross over with, that's the next prompt we're going to talk about. But we have Angelina, who is on the run. Her father was killed, and the man who killed her father is trying to force her into marriage and take over his job. And she is smuggled out by her grandmother, I believe. And she ends up on a shipment of weapons that's being sent up north. And when the, is this the Bratva? I think it's the Bratva who intercepts. They find her on this shipment. And Sergei ends up taking her in and wanting to keep her, but not in the creepy way. Like, he wants to help her, but he also sees this fragile, beautiful thing, and he wants to, like, keep her for himself. But she is from the cartel, and she's a woman on the run. So there's this one. And it just so happens that the next prompt is Woman on the Run. So we'll start it with Hidden Truths, as I just mentioned. So this one, just with reading this one, gets you 5 points alone for the bonus points, not to mention what it checks off in the other ones. So again, I'm saying, if you haven't read some Neva Altaj, she is going to be a good one to pick for this readathon. So the other books of Woman on the Run, we'll start with the ones I have. We have, of course, Run, Posey, Run by Kate C. Wells. And in this one, the woman is running from her who is now her ex-boyfriend. She was a mafia girlfriend, and then Dario finds out some fake news about her and he believes it, and so he tells her, leave, I never want to see you again. If I see you again, I'm going to kill you. And then soon after, she's like, well, fine, fuck you. She's never like been on her own before. She's really always depended on men to take care of her, but now she takes the chance to go on the run and try to make it on her own. And then Dario decides he wants her back, and so he's going to try to take her back. So this one has a woman on the run. We have A Bullet Between Us by Kay Dossel. This is a throwback for me. I really love this. I first read this one, I think, for maybe our first romance readathon we did, or maybe that was the second one. It was the second one. But this is Davina, and she accidentally sees something she should not see. And so she ends up needing to get put into witness protection. Now, the thing is, Ilias, who is a officer of the law, is actually an undercover officer for the mafia. Like, he is undercover for them. And so he might be protecting Davina, but he also, the things that she saw might be something that his family doesn't want her to have seen. So is he there to protect her, or will he be the one who is actually her assassin who takes her out? This one also has the hero with a friend, with a animal familiar who I absolutely love. And this is a great one. It's a great one. It's very forgotten because she's only put out 2 books in this series so far, but that one is like a standalone for that couple, so you could read that. Then we have When She Unravels by Gabrielle Sands. Now this one is going to be a heavy hitter in this readathon, okay? Because this one is also the oddly specific rec for a host, okay? So there are also 4 books in this readathon that are specifically recommended by us. I'll get to another one of those in a minute here. Actually, a couple of them, I think. Do we have? What's the other one she recommended? Now I don't remember off the top of my head, but this one is Cheyenne's recommendation, When She Unravels. So if you read this one, you will straight up get the 5 points, plus you'll get the bonus points for A Woman on the Run, plus some other points you'll discover as you read the book. But this one is about our heroine who, her husband is a killer, and she was given to him in an arranged marriage. And finally, he pushes her too far. He pushes Valentina too far, and she escapes. And now she is in hiding, and she's on the run, and she isn't too good to do anything. Like, she's willing to do any job it takes to survive, but she also hasn't been allowed to do a lot of things because she's been kept to be a wife and wasn't able to do that. So she definitely has a learning curve, and she ends up in another country working as a cleaner at a club, and the man who owns that club ends up wanting her as well. I have a beautiful version from the Dark and Quirky book box, and there's a beautiful page overlay right there. So this book will be a heavy, heavy hitter if you would read this one, and if you read more in the series too, I'm sure Cheyenne would just adore you. There's an audiobook for this as well. So 2 other women on the run. One I have also read. There is Slay by Abby Glines, and I love this one. This is a cowboy mafia. This is the Southern Mafia. And this one is about our heroine, Rumor, who in the beginning, her husband is very abusive, and her husband has got in with the wrong people, aka the Southern Mafia. And so when they come to punish him, she makes a run for it, not knowing she's actually being followed by one of the members of this mafia, who then decides they want to help her out. And so this man makes himself known. His name is King, and he offers her a place to stay. And she thinks that she's going to bring danger upon him and his family, not knowing that if there would be any danger, it would be from him. So that one's good. This one's a pretty quick one. And this one also has some BDSM in it, so it would work for that prompt as well. And then the other one I have in here that I haven't actually read, we have Luciano by Eva Winners. This is book 1 in the Bells and Monsters. So this one is Luciano Vitale, which I assume would probably be the Italian mafia, so it'd work for that. But it says he's cruel, heartless, ruthless, a criminal, a monster, a murderer. The Bells and Monsters were never meant to be together, but still I fell in love with him only to be torn apart. And lesson learned. I escaped with nothing but the clothes on my back and my best friend by my side, and we hid in plain sight. Just a normal life again, until we were found, dragged back into the underworld, and this time the stakes are so much higher. Falling is not an option if only he wasn't my demise. So, sounds like she was on the run from him, but gets taken back. Not sure. But again, this was recommended by a viewer, and this one fits as Woman on the Run. So our next oddly specific one is for assassin. Okay, so I have 4 male assassins and 4 female assassins for this one. So I have a lot of recs for this one, okay? So first up, we have another Nivoltage. This is actually the most recent one. This is Darkest Sins, and this is also an age gap, and I think this one is Cosa Nostra. I actually don't remember, but it's either Italian or Sicilian, I'm not sure. But this one is beautiful. This is Nera, who is a daughter of the Mafia. And then we have Kai, who is kind of he was a super soldier turned assassin now. And one night in the beginning of this book, he is injured. And Nera is currently interning with a vet. And she happens to be locking up for the night when she finds this man bleeding to death. And he refuses to go to a hospital. So she drags him in and she sews him up. And now she has a silent protector that she never expected to have. And he keeps his eye on her for a very long time and is always watching and waiting and hoping to protect her in some way. So, yeah, it's pretty great. It's pretty great. There's nothing else to say. It's amazing. But this is a very slow burn, and it also has a secret baby and a second chance in it. So it has quite a few things mixed into this one. Then we have Mafia Target by Mila Finelli. This one is book 4 in the Kings of Italy. You probably shouldn't start with this one, but you know, that's okay. This is Cosa Nostra, so this is Sicilian Mafia. It even says we have the Kings of Italy, which usually if it's the Italian Mafia actually in Italy, it's Sicilian. I know, it's confusing, but the Italian Mafia is usually the Americans, but Italians, and if they are based in Italy, they're usually still the original, like either Cosa Nostra, Sicilian Mafia. Anyway, it's a whole thing. You can look into Mafia history. It's fascinating. But this one we have Julio, who he had to give up his birthright and go into hiding because he's gay, and he's lucky that he's still alive. We're past that part of it. He's alive, but will he stay alive? Because Alessio, who is the most famous assassin, the highest paid one out there, he is supposed to at one point have taken out Julio's father, and he actually missed because he was distracted by the beautiful Julio. And so for a couple of years now, he's been stalking Julio. He's been following him because he is still entranced by him. He thinks he is so sexy and just wants him. And Alessio is bisexual, which he can get whatever he wants, we'll just say that. And he is both equally pissed off and attracted by this beautiful man. And when they have an interaction at a nightclub where Alessio kind of breaks the anonymity, things start to spice up a bit for sure. So, love that. Then there is Call the Coroner by Avril Ashton, which I have read. This is another MM. Funny. This one we have actually a mafia boss wants revenge on someone who killed his wife. And there was a hit put out on both him and his wife, and the man was able to kill his wife and like almost successfully garroted the hero, but he wasn't able to do it. And now it is years later and he wants revenge. And so he's actually captured the assassin and he's going to torture him for information to find out why he killed his wife. And he's just like, dude, I'm just the muscle. I'm just the gun. I'm just the weapon. I didn't take the hit out on you and your wife. It's just my job to complete it. And there is some torturing and some very hot MM stuff in this one. But I was fascinated by Call the Coroner. It was so good. Like, I could not look away. Then the other one here is Owned by the Hitman. This is Ivan and Katie. So this one is, you will be my woman for a year, servant to my whims and desires. I will not hurt you unless you want me to. So this one also has BDSM in it, it says. So I'm deep in the mafia. My father was the one who made the deal, and when I inherited his club, I also inherited his troubles. Ivan wants to save me, or so he says, more like he wants me to be his slave for a year. After the one night stand I had with him, though, would that be so bad? With his impossibly hard body and the way he always makes me scream. But he's still a monster, he's a criminal, and something so much worse. So, and this one is Bratva. So we have Bratva, BDSM, and assassin. All right, then we have some women. We have some naughty killer women. And of course, we have to start, dear, my computer fell off my lap. We have, of course, Ivan by Sophia Lark, because we have Sloane, who is fantastic. And so Sloane gets a hit put, okay, she gets called to complete a hit on Ivan, who is a Bratva boss, and she is someone, she uses poison. She sneaks her way in, doses them, and gets out. Only this time, she gets caught. And so Ivan takes her captive to try to find out who hired her and maybe do a little bit of sexual torture to get her to admit it. So, total classic. Absolutely love it. It's to die for. Definitely, if you haven't read that one yet, you have to. It's amazing. Dangerously by M. Never. That is another female hitman. This one says, I'm known as many things, a hunter, a killer, a lone red wolf. I'm a femme fatale caught between two men. One, a ruthless Boston crime boss who wants to steal my freedom. The other, an Irish gun for hire who demands my loyalty. Both are an enemy. Oh, maybe she isn't the one. Maybe it's the guy. Well, I was lied to, because when I looked this up, it said that it was. But either way, it's still a hitman. Okay, well, either way, one or both of them are hitmen, all right? See, this is what happens. I try to put these lists together, and I haven't necessarily read them all. So you'll have to tell me. All right, then we have Morally Corrupt by Veronica Lancet. This one says, Bianca Ashby, a certified sociopath with an obsession for her husband, tries to juggle two lives. The demure NYPD chief commissioner's wife, and the perfect Bratva assassin, all while keeping her husband safe and blissfully unaware. But when high-level corruption and a personal vendetta raises the stakes, no one is who they say they are, least of all Bianca's perfectly dull husband, Theo. From glitzy New York ballrooms and charity events to underground sex rings, drugs, and illegal fights, the best predator wins it all. Oh my God, okay. I thought about wanting to read this one. This one was recommended in my book rec form. This one's going on my TBR for sure. Because I said at the end I'm going to share some of my TBR. This one's going on it for sure. Absolutely. All right. Then another one that was recommended on my book rec form was Kill Me by LP Lovell. This one's been on there a long time. This one is about Una. So it says, to many, I'm little more than a myth, the kiss of death, a hired killer, revered by some of the greatest criminal organizations in the world, trained by the Bratva themselves, without conscience, without mercy, the perfect soldier. I'll kill anyone for a price. Death doesn't discriminate. She sells to the highest bidder, but even I have a weakness. Nero, I want one thing, power. But power is merely a game of strategy. The pieces are on the chessboard. Death is my queen and also my pawn. She'll paint the city red in exchange for one thing she wants. Now all I have to do is watch that play out. She's nothing more than a weapon, and yet I find myself wanting to dance with death, to possess her, and I always get what I want. So, a bloodied king, a broken queen, kiss me or kill me. Interesting. That is one that's been recommended for a long time, so we'll see if I get around to that one. All right, then we have a classic here, and I just listed a few of my faves, because y'all, this one is in pretty much every Mafia series this exists, so I just put a few. We have Rival Families, right? This one was almost on the main board. I just didn't have room for on the main board. That's why some of these that are 2 points are a little bit easier to hit, right? We have Rival Families, and of course we have Brutal Prince. No surprise. This one's great. It also hits a lot of prompts, okay? Because it's the tropest of tropes. It's great, okay? It hits the Italians. It hits the Irish. It is Rival Families and arranged marriage. What else even does this hit? There's an audiobook of this one. Yeah. There we go. It hits a whole bunch. You can almost get a bingo with this baby here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, you can hit a whole bunch with this baby. So, yep, this is the arranged marriage between the Griffins and the Gallows. It starts off a lot of books for Sophie Lark. It's great. There's a reason it's a classic. So, highly recommend this one. All right, next is the book that is my personal rec for the readathon. So, this is my one that is 5 points, and this one hits quite a few prompts as well. You can do very well with this one. So here we have Twisted Pride by Cora Riley. Yes, this is book 3 in a series, but I don't care. I love it. We'll be talking about another book in this series soon too. But this one is my recommendation for rival families. It's also captor captive. It's also Italian. It's also, I think those are the big ones. With there's a tattooed hero. Yeah, this one will get you a lot of points if you pick this one. But this is Remo Falcone, who is the capo of the Camorra, and he wants revenge against the Chicago outfit, and so he kidnaps Serafina on her wedding day in her wedding dress and brings her to Vegas, where he's planning to keep her and torture her family with her a little bit. And he also plays some mind games with her, but he's not quite prepared for how she pushes him back in the best way. And they have a toxic relationship. I won't pretend otherwise, but it is, guys, this is in my top 3, 5 Mafia of all time. I recently, not super recently, but at the beginning of this year, I made my favorite Mafia of all time, and this one is up there, and it always will be. It's wonderful. There is also, of course, Deviant Hearts by Jagger Cole. I can recommend a lot of his for others. His have the Greek and the Irish. There's Irish in here. I almost made Greek a choice because there are a few Greek mafias, but that's okay. We have enough. This is an arranged marriage as well, rival families. And this book, I think, is a really good, in the same way that like Brutal Prince kicks off so much, this one kicks off so much too by bringing those two families together. And so, yeah, we also have, I believe this one is this one Ares, the god of war? This is Neve, who's from the Irish, and Ares from the Greek. And this one is wild. This is batshit. It's totally over the top. I loved it. This started my love affair with Jagger Cole. It did burn hot and fast. I'm getting a teeny bit burned out with him. But I do have my own Jagger Cole on my TBR for this readathon. As I said, we'll get to that in a minute. I have him on my own list because I just can't let him go either. But this is a great one. I wish the audiobook for this was out already, but his series are finally getting put on audio, so that will happen soon enough. Then we have Filthy Rich by Serena Ackroyd. This one also covers many prompts. This one is Irish and Bratva. This is age gap. It's arranged marriage, but this one is also the rival families, and it has just one of my favorite romances. This is also in my top ones, and this one is... I think this one is Owen. I think it's Owen. I forget how to say his name. It's been a long time. But this is Owen and Nessa. Yeah, this is Owen and Nessa. And they are forced into a marriage at the beginning of this. And on her wedding day, she's coming down the aisle. And Owen can tell that she has been absolutely abused. Like, the makeup isn't enough to hide the bruises and to hide the pain in her ribs. And when he sees this, and he isn't even that excited for this marriage. Like, he's not even super excited or like happy about it. He's being pushed into it to, you know, make this alliance. But when he sees how this woman who's supposed to be his to care for is treated, he loses his shit, and he knows who's to blame. It's her father. And so he goes to her father. This all happens in the beginning. He's barely spoken more than a couple words to her. And he's like, if you ever treat my wife, that's right, my wife energy. If you ever treat my wife like this again, it'll be the last fucking thing that you do. And I was sold right from there, okay? And even more sold when instead, for their honeymoon, because she's so battered, he's like, we're not going to consummate our marriage when you can barely breathe. Like, we'll wait. He watches rom-coms with her instead, okay? Just, he's a prince, okay? I love this series so much. It's so good, especially the first, like, 5, 6 books in this series. They still have my heart so much. So, Filthy Rich, this is great. It starts with Filthy as the first one, but you could jump in with this one if you want. They weren't quite so interconnected that it was painful with that one, so you'll be okay. And then another one I wanted to throw in was Malevolent Kings by Mila Kane. And I want to put this one in because kind of all the rest of these ones were rival families and arranged marriage stuff, right? But with Malevolent Kings, it's kind of more like they have rival families and they're a bit like a Romeo and Juliet situation. And this is a part of some of Mila Kane's backlist. She has many books that I could recommend for this readathon. And I do in my other Mafia Rec videos, I talk about her a lot. She's a new favorite of mine. And I think that's a good one. All right, next up we have some BDSM. Okay, now if you haven't noticed already, I've mentioned BDSM a lot. Like BDSM shows up in dark romances a lot. It does. It shows up to varying degrees. It shows up to varying amounts of being official BDSM or being more just naughty kinds, you know? So that's something to keep in mind, is that a lot of people don't want there to be BDSM in theirs. And sure, a lot of them might not call it that, but that doesn't mean it's not showing up in some capacity. That's just how it is. But I have just a few to recommend. And like I said, I've already mentioned some that already have it in it, and you might find it. And that's kind of why like BDSM is one of the prompts that I feel like you don't have to purposely choose it. If you read some of these other ones and BDSM shows up, you'll be just like, ooh, I got some bonus points for this one. But even so, I have some recs for it. We have The Master by Kresley Cole. Lately, I've been wanting to reread this series, and so I've been bringing it up in a few videos because it covers a lot. But this one actually has a woman on the run as well, so a bonus for that. And our heroine here is on the run because she got on the wrong side of some people, and so she's undercover, and she actually takes a job for her friend who ends up being sick, I believe, when she was supposed to take an escort job. I can't remember if her friend like got her period or like what happened, but she needs some extra money, so she decides to take the job. She's like, I'm not too good for it, I'll do it. But it ends up being Maximilian Sebastian. And when this woman shows up, she is not what he was expecting at all. And then when they fuck, she actually like wasn't on birth control because she wasn't planning for this, and he doesn't like use condoms at all. And so he thinks that she's trying to trap him because he's a very paranoid man. So he ends up forcibly keeping her there to make sure she's not pregnant. And then he decides, well, I want to keep her. And there's some kinky stuff involved. There are some chastity devices that get involved in this one. I love it. Kresley Cole, so creative. But also, our heroine doesn't fight too hard to get away because she's like, where could be a safer place for me to be stuck than in this impenetrable penthouse where I get to have kinky sex with this rich billionaire, you know? So she doesn't try too hard to escape. We'll just say that. All right. Then just straight up, I will say pretty much every book by Maggie Cole has BDSM in it. Okay. It is one of her staples. She loves putting the kinky kink in it. And so, you know, even if you start at the beginning, which I do highly recommend, I love it so much. Bratva at the beginning of this series, there is more BDSM in some than others. And one of my faves, this is one of my favorite mafias of all time as well, is Savage Tracker. So this is book 5 in the Ivanov series. You can read most of hers as standalones. I honestly just recommend you don't read like the last couple, but all of the rest of them are kind of taking place on top of each other. And we're going to talk about another one soon that fits in another category, but this one is beautiful. This has BDSM as healing, and it is just, it still lives rent-free. This is beautiful. The audiobook of this is really great. It's by the married couple, Kai Kennicott and Wen Ross. They're actually a married narrator couple, by the way. And this one has, I believe this is Selena. Now I need to check because it's been a while. Yeah, Selena and Obrecht, I believe. And she has just divorced her abusive husband. And her lawyer is actually the heroine that we'll talk about in this one, and has helped her get out of this abusive marriage, but that doesn't mean this man is ready to let her go. And she'd been married to this man for, I believe it's like 10-15 years. It's been a long time that she was married to this man. It might even be like 18 or something, but he took her when she was very young, and so she's cut off from all of her family. Talking for a while, and so she doesn't really have anyone. And she was actually in a non-consensual master-slave relationship with her husband. He treated her horribly. But she still has cravings of that life that's in her, but she has no way to pair it with good things. It's only seen as shameful. And when Obrecht realizes some of the tendencies that she has, he wants to help her. Now, he doesn't take submissives on long term, but he wants to help her out in the safest way possible. And so they end up kind of doing this almost like, I wouldn't call it full-on tutoring because he is doing the sexy things with her too, but I just found it very powerful, and this was very emotional. And the way that he rebuilds her and teaches her that she can have a safe word, she can want things to stop, like, I just love it so much. Like, honestly, it's just so good. So highly recommend that one. Then we have another one that's a bit more non-consensual, but is one of the darker books I've read. This is actually one of the banned babies, and I'm so happy because I actually got a copy that had the, like, it's banned. This is a used copy that I got, but it had that in it. But it actually says, like, it was too much for Amazon, how about you? And so, yeah, and I think, like, her cover got cut off it or whatever. It was just crazy. But this one is about this girl named this girl and then this man named Luca. I can't remember if we get his POV. I don't think we do. But she actually goes to a party, and things end up going further than she wanted them to. And so she's like, dude, you assaulted me. I did not want this. And he's like, you can't tell anyone. And she's like, no, I'm gonna. And he's like, that was the wrong thing to say. And so she wakes up now as his prisoner. So he's connected with the mafia. Of course it is. He's the son of mafia. And he can't have her blabbing about what he did. So now she just has to be his good little possession until she can prove that she's allowed back out and she's not going to tell. So again, this one, not completely consensual stuff at the beginning of this, but, you know, she definitely gets we'll just say she gets a little bit gaslit into this relationship, okay? This is mafia. We don't follow all the rules, but just be aware. We then, of course, have The Bully by Sophie Lark. Yes, I'm showing off my lovely Eternal Embers copy of this because it's gorgeous, and why not? And I also love that this one's more compact for sure, although I do miss some of the art that was inside of it. But anyway, this is book 3 in the Kingmaker series, which is actually being rebranded shortly. And, you know, so you might want to be prepared for that. And you should read books 1 and 2 in this series. But I'm throwing it in here because maybe you'll want to be one of them that binges this series, and then you'll be able to fit this in. But there's some really beautiful BDSM experimentation that happens between Dean and his heroine in here, and I just love it. I love it. Sophie puts a lot of BDSM in hers too. And then we round off this one with Carnal Urges because Daddy Declan has to make it into this at all somehow. This one is the Irish Mafia. This also bonus, okay? We haven't gotten to this trope yet, I don't think. Did we do it already? Did we? Where is it? Yeah, so this one also fits under undercover agent or spy. Now, I'm not going to tell you who that person is if you don't know, but just know if you read this book, you'll also be able to check off that box because it does happen. And it's Irish, and it's captor-captive, and it's age gap, and BDSM. Like, come on, you want to read this, okay? You want to read this, all right? So, yeah, this is about Sloane, who she is best friends with the now, like, fiance of a rival mafia. And so Declan is supposed to kidnap her and use her as leverage, only he bites off way more than he can chew. Well, he can chew it just fine, but let's just say he has a mouthful and hands full of her for a while. Sloane is one of my favorite female characters in Mafia, and this is in my top Mafia of all time. I just adore it. I love the whole series. If you read the whole series during this, you will probably get a blackout. The audiobooks are out of this world. Highly recommend. All right, then we have the undercover agent slash spy. So this can go in any way you say. It can be a mafia spy who's spying within another mafia. It can be literally law enforcement agents undercover. It can be someone who, you know, is spying just for their own aims. And so we have a couple of those to share here. So There is Scars and Secrets by Avril Ashton. I'll go through some of these pretty quickly because these are ones I haven't read any of them, and we're already making this video super long. And it's an undercover FBI agent named Donovan, and he gets put undercover against, I don't think that it's saying here, I don't know which mafia it is that he's undercover with, but this one isn't too long. This one looks pretty interesting for sure. Then there is Savage Wounds by Lillian Harris. This is book 4 in the Messina crime family. I actually have the audiobook of this one that I have to listen to. I've already read it, but I have the audio arc of it as well, which I'm excited for. But this one has an undercover spy that, again, I won't say who it is or what's going on, but there is one included in this. I believe this family is the Italians or the Cosa Nostra. Not sure off the top of my head, but it definitely fits in there for sure. We have Spy for the Mafia by Lee Hunter. I'm a pawn, a traitor, and a stepping stone to his inevitable destruction, and he's got the key to my soul. So a police sniper is what this one is. And I think this one is FM. Not sure if I'm seeing it. But this one also has BDSM, it says. Oh, this is a female. Yep, so it's FM. And it says this one has some BDSM as well. And then there is also El Malo by K. Webster. Bonus, this is a cartel romance. And I believe the heroine is undercover trying to take down the, like, king of the cartel. And then bonus, I forgot to mention, you know, maybe I did say it when we held it up. I've been talking for too long. But Ilyas is technically undercover, but he is a police officer who is mafia undercover as a police officer. So I maybe mentioned that one already, but that one works. Then there is one that I wish I had more for this one for sure. But I only have like 2 recs currently, and this might be one that as I read, maybe we'll find some more. There is the MC Plays an Instrument. So like I said, not all of these are like super easy. That's why they're a bit more points and they're kind of a bonus. But this was one that Jess from Honest Fiction, I believe, suggested. And I actually knew one off the top of my head. There is Twisted Emotions, of course. So here's the other one. This one also hits rival families, arranged marriage. It is also the Italian. And a tattooed hero for sure. He's got tattoos all over. So yeah, this one hits a whole bunch of them. But Chiara plays the piano. Ooh, we got a storm happening out there. And then Fractured Souls. This is the one that Jess told me about. She said this one also has a piano. And then I did find another one, which is also under interracial romance, which is Rhapsody by Kenya Wright. This is one that's been on my radar for a while, so I might want to try this one. And this one has BDSM, interracial romance, and it's a part of it's the something and the violinist. So the violin is the instrument in that one. So this one might be a really good one to hit. I might have to check that one out. So those are the instruments. Then we have the disability / neurodivergent character. So I put these together, and this one is the one that Neva Altaj really shines in, okay? Because her series, Perfectly Imperfect, pretty much every one of the books hits this. Now, I think maybe I haven't said this of like, you can't double up on the tropes. Like, you know, if you read 4 books that have disability or neurodivergence, you only count it one time. Like, nothing is like double hitting. It's a like I said, it's like a bingo with the tropes as well. Once you've crossed them off, you've crossed them off. But these books are going to hit so many of the prompts. This series does. So there's the first one, which is Painted Scars. And this one is also an arranged marriage. This is Nina and Roman. And Roman has a leg injury. He has a limp. He does use the cane. I think he uses a wheelchair sometimes. I don't fully remember that, but he definitely uses help sometimes. And yeah, this one starts off the series. Then of course we have Broken Whispers, which has the speechless heroine. They use sign language in this one. This one is also an arranged marriage, and I think that it's Bratva and Italian. Yeah, Bratva and Italian right there, arranged marriage will work. And then there's Silent Lies. This one is book 8, and this one has a partially deaf hero. He has, depending on like the sound patterns, he has selective like deafness, and so he needs to like see you speak and everything, but he's also the boss. And this one I think is the Serbian, and I'm not sure what one Siena's a part of, but she is technically a bit of a spy for her capo, or for her boss. He's asking her to spy. She just doesn't want to do it, but this one will also work for that. You could include Run Posey Run if you wanted to. That hero, whether he's a psychopath or what we have going on, he definitely is neurodivergent in that way. And also we have Twisted Emotions hits that as well. Then there are two that, there's Lev by Bella Aurora. That book is a little bit like if you've heard of The Accountant, which is a Ben Affleck film. He's definitely written as being on the autism scale. And then there's one that I found that looks very interesting. So this one is called Unnecessary Sin by Georgia Cates. And this one says that the hero, I think, is a amputee on one of his legs, from what I've read. So that seems interesting to me anyway. So, but I can't speak to it 100%, but that's one that I found that it said that. All right, let's keep going. We're almost done here because, boy, we've been going for a while. So then we get to interracial romance. And this one I'm pretty excited about because I had some really great recommendations in my book rec form for this one. And I want to try to read a couple of these ones. So there is Dirty Kisses by Kenya Wright, which I have read this one. This one is, can't remember if he's in the Bratva or not, but yeah. And Kenya Wright actually has quite a few interracial romances as well. And Rhapsody, as I said, works for BDSM, plays an instrument, and is an interracial romance. There is also A Mafia Boss Got Me by Just Bay, which I thought was very interesting. This one says, bound to her decision by her father's debts, Clara held her head high. A heartless mafia boss was the solution to their financial problems. She just had to last 2 weeks of being his captured pawn. Underboss Tony didn't get to where he was by being soft. He was ruthless with his power, and he took what he wanted. He never let a debt go unpaid, and if Clara was the payment for her father's, well, he intended to make full use of her. It started off as an obligation, please him, and save her family. She knew his reputation. She knew she should be afraid, but she was succumbing to his dark soul, which was the opposite of hers. So sounds like this one also has possibly some BDSM in it as well. But yep, that one also is a black woman, white man. And then I actually found two of them that are, oh no, that's a lie. There's also this one. I forgot to show. This one is a black woman, and it also hits reverse age gap and BDSM. So this is another really heavy hitter. I believe the heroine is like 5-6 years older. Usually the age gaps between when the woman's older are a lot like less, but this is a really good one. So that one is interracial, BDSM, and reverse age gap. And then here we go. There was one that I looked up because another interracial pairing that I always find really interesting is black woman, Asian man as an interracial romance. So there is Tanaka Rain, which is also Yakuza. So there we go. Usually, if it's going to be an Asian man, he'll be a part of the Yakuza, but not always. Not always. We won't put anyone in a box. But this one is a short one, so I might want to try this because it looks like this author, Kenya Clark, writes quite a few of these. So could be a new author for me here. But this one says, plus-size beauty Ebony Drake has been poor all her life. Instead of wishing for her situation to change, she decides to change it. She moves away from her drug-addicted mother to start her life anew. The last thing on her mind is love until she meets the mysterious Rain Tanaka. Ebony doesn't know what he sees in her. All she knows is that he scares her with the way he makes her feel. Rain Tanaka has spent his life taking care of his family. He realizes quickly he has been a fool in thinking everything he needed was found at home. Ebony Drake is the missing piece. He knows he shouldn't get involved with her, but there's just something about that dark skin beauty that pulls him to her. However, just when things begin to heat up between them, he has to walk away. No matter how much Rain tries, he can't erase Ebony from his sweat-filled dreams. Risking it all, Rain will do anything to get the love he left behind back. He should remember the code, though. No one disobeys the Yakuza. And this one is just a short one. And I think maybe it's probably a prequel to a series, because it says this is the beginning of the Yakuza Claimed. I have no idea, but this one would hit a lot of tropes as well. So then the very last oddly specific trope is a reverse age gap, which I already shared. Cruel Enforcer. And another one I've read is Scared to Love by Siobhan Davis. This was one I read a couple years ago. There's an audiobook for this one. It's very good. And I think it's a brother's best friend, but he's younger than her, right? And then honestly, I thought there was more of these. Something that I learned, like this was my own fault, is like one that I have always thought was a reverse age gap is this one. It's not. The hero is older than the heroine in this one. She's just so like larger than life that it feels like she is, but she's not. And so yeah, that is one that if you have some reverse age gap MAFIA, please let me know. I know it's a tough sell, but that's also why it's a bonus point extra, because it's not going to be like a super easy one to find. And then this is totally random and doesn't fit any of the prompts, but while I was looking up books yesterday, this one came into view and I just had to pass it along because I love when I find unique ones. And this one is a FF Mafia romance. And it's also a novella length, and it's about Lena and Allah. And I thought I would just share that in case one of you wants to try it. So it says, love is a lie. I've had that lesson beaten into me ever since I was a child. Some people might think that's a tragedy, but not me, because you know what's even better than love? Power. I clawed my way to the top of the food chain and became the leader of the Beaufort crime syndicate. See, female boss. I guess it does fit in here. Whoop, whoop. At only 20 years old. Now nobody crosses me and lives to tell the tale. There's just one little problem. You don't build an empire without a few enemies. My past might be coming back to haunt me with a vengeance, but I have no intention of going down without a fight. I hire a K9 handler for added security, and it was a simple business decision, but I wasn't counting on Allah. Aloof attitude, dark hair, tattoos. Ooh, tattooed heroine, like it. Exactly my type. She's far more than just a K9 handler, and I want to peel back that carefully composed exterior and see what's underneath. I know I'm bad for her, but sometimes being bad feels too good to stop. I just hope we both make it out of this alive. So, I thought that was interesting, and I'm just passing it along. So I have spoken way too long about this, but I hope that this video, whether you're interested in the Mafia Romance Readathon or not, was a wealth of Mafia recommendations for you. Again, as I said at the beginning, if you have a rec for one of these, please put first what the rec is for and leave it. And then if you are the second one to recommend, you can just add it to that person. And then my hope is that in the comments will just be like the oddly specifics for all of these to add in. So thank you so much for watching. I hope this was great. If you made it through this video, please give me a red heart below. Like this video, share it with your friends who like Mafia romance, and we'll see you in the next one.